Michael, do you want to start us off?
Oh, sure. So we've got like this emphasis on competition and marketing, emphasis on sales and marketing versus just customer service. We have a little bit of a training series going on. We've got Greg Tolino coming in next month. We have Jason Mercer coming in the month after that. But John and I thought we'd do something a little unique, a little different, throw a curveball to the marketing department and bring in a motivational speaker to talk about sales. And the speaker is Mike Lindstrom, right here. I would actually boo him. And I can say that because I met Mike my first day in law school like 23 years ago, believe it or not. We just aged ourselves. But we met the first day in law school, and we've been friends ever since. We ended up being roommates all 3 years in law school, and we've been friends ever since. One quick story about Mike, which is kind of a segue into his background. In the third year of law school, and there's a couple other lawyers in here, it's all about the job. What job are you going to get? What interviews do you have? How much money are you going to make? All that kind of stuff. And being me, I secured the big law firm job. Whoop-de-doo, all the bells and whistles. And Mike's unique. He's sort of counterculture-ish. He likes to find different paths in life. And everybody kind of wondered what Mike was going to do. And I remember when he finally said he had the job. And it was probably over lots of alcohol, but he said, "Hey, I got the job." I said, "What is it?" "I'm going to go work for Tony Robbins." And so out of law school, Mike took a job with Tony Robbins. And he went on the road for years and years and years and years mentoring under Tony Robbins. And he eventually left Tony Robbins and went out on his own doing motivational speaking. So he's had a tremendous 23-year career doing motivational speaking. I'm totally impressed by what he's done. He's had a unique, creative career while I dabble in subprime auto. Really excited.
It's a long dabble.
But today's an opportunity for the group to learn something from Mike. I hope that you can maybe just learn one thing, take it back to your sales approach, and maybe make some more money out of it. I know for myself, I've learned a couple things from Mike through the years. Nothing trivial like 2 + 2 = 4 or a sales tactic or how to deal with people. But he taught me how to be authentic and genuine in life. And so I've used that professionally and arguably personally to get better. So I thought perfect person to bring in today is Mike. I know he's going to speak to the supervisors for Terry and Lori in a couple months. So with that, listen up, learn something, and John, take it from there.
Okay, so the timing of this event isn't a coincidence. We've just had a rough July. We want to start a rally right now, and so Mike has set this up for something to kick us off. How do you start a rally? You have to do something difficult, right? And we need somebody to lead the way. That somebody is you. And we're hoping that this event from our speaker here, who's a professional speaker, one of the youngest Fortune 500 coaches, and he's got some credentials from the psychology of influence and DISC, behavioral science, and he's recognized in the art of neuroassociative conditioning. I think what that means is he's going to help you overcome challenges and be a success. And so let's give a warm round of applause. Welcome our guest.
We call the Jedi mind tricks, NAC. So Tony Robbins. Does anybody not know who Tony Robbins is, by the way? I mean, we got a younger crowd here. So Tony Robbins just came out with his film. I don't know if you guys have seen this yet. It's called I'm Not Your Guru. Came out on Netflix 2 weeks ago. I'd recommend seeing it. That was my life for 2 years on the road, and then You saw it? What'd you think?
It was pretty interesting.
Crazy, right?
Crazy.
So what's interesting about that setup, the way you see it, I mean, he's doing a 5-day event into 90 minutes when you see the film. It's all pattern recognition. So we already know the pattern. There's no plants in there, by the way. It's all legit. So the coaches behind the scenes, what you see, they feed it up to Tony, and then Tony gets in the live audience in front of 5,000 people, and he goes, "Okay, ladies, Who's got confidence issues? Go ahead and raise your hand. Some lady will raise her hand, and he goes right to her. He's 6'7". He's got the microphone. He's got the cameras. He's got control, so to speak. All right, guys. Who's got ego issues? Who's the tough guy? Go ahead and raise your hand. Goes right in on him. So then you start to see the whole pattern, the way it breaks out. So when I was watching it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so curious, like what patterns he's going to pull out of this movie. But if you haven't seen that, I'd recommend it. It's free. It's on Netflix. But that's where I was trained. True Lavin story. Graduated law school. I'll never forget getting that phone call from now my business partner, co-author and best mentor, Dan Lear, who I knew from nobody. He was like Tony Robbins' right-hand guy. They were living in Washington, Redmond, Washington. And the first question he asked me, he goes, how coachable are you, 0 to 10? Now, what would you say if I said that? 0 to 10, how coachable are you?
I don't know.
Well, if you didn't know, what would you say?
10.
I know these patterns.
I have to excuse myself. I can barely hear from this year.
Okay.
Sorry.
0 to
You
10.
said
10? You're 10. So you're perfect.
Oh, no.
You can leave the
I'm
room then.
coachable.
You're
I
good.
am. No.
0 to 10? 7.
I'm going to say 0.
6.
I'm like
An
an 8.
8? Who's like a 9? Who's a 9? You're a 9? So what's your story, my man?
I'm very coachable.
Yeah. So why not a 10?
Because nobody's perfect.
Boom.
But I'm close.
Boom. I can tell. I like this guy. He wears shades inside. I like him.
Where's his feet?
0 to 10. You never arrive. This is human being. I didn't know this at the time when Dan's asking me this question. I'm on a phone call. By the way, we were living in Mission Beach at the time. I get this phone call. We had the red phone. If you remember the red phone, had a cord on it. Mike, the one you guys used to laugh at me about, calling everybody at late night, right? Corded phone, landline. I get this phone call, and I run out, and I get on this phone. He starts grilling me. How coachable are you? What's your next level? How do you define the next level? What's your purpose? What's your why? I'm going, what the hell is this? I'm just graduating from law school trying to figure out what my next job is, but this guy's grilling me about what's the next level. How coachable are you, right? But there was that moment. It's those moments in time. They say a decision happens in a moment. You know the word decision? What's the base root of decision? Decision, which means what? To cut. It was in that moment where I had to cut. And I'll never forget when I had to make that phone call to my father, who was my mentor, best man at my wedding. And my dad's, I graduated December 19th. I graduated a semester early because I was sick and tired of law school, so I got out of there. Started my job January, February. And I had to call my dad and tell him what my job was. Because to Mike's point, everyone's going to the U.S. Attorney's office, DA's office. And then I'm going to go work for this motivational speaker on TV, Tony Robbins. I'm going to make $60,000 a year base. But I got all these commissions. I get to travel the road and do whatever the hell I want to do. Right? This is my head. But my dad's telling me I'm a freak. Okay, my dad started at Procter & Gamble when he was 18 and a half, retired by 45, worked for another company. He sacked away 30% of everything he did in retirement. That's just his paradigm, right? So all this stuff happens in a month. And I have to figure out purpose, why, goal, coachability, and all this stuff that's going through my brain, all in a matter of time when these guys are all going off to these big law firm jobs, right? But if you think about human behavior, there's two things that we struggle with the most. Okay? And I want you to get this. We struggle with ourself, and we struggle with money. Let me give you an example. I want you guys to be honest with me now. Who gets out of the shower totally naked? Looks in the mirror and goes, I'm perfect. Besides you. Who? Anybody? Do you do it? No. Okay. Well, like what part? What? Not to pick on you, but you're easy to pick on. So, what part is not good? Your abs.
I'm not happy with my abs totally.
Abs. Okay. All right, ladies. What part do you struggle with, ladies? I already know the answer. Go ahead and tell me. Thighs. What else? No one does that, right? I remember being in San Diego, fitness trainers. These are the most fit people on the planet. You guys remember Billy Blanks from Tybo? You remember that brother? 6'2". I mean, the guy's just ripped. So this guy's in the audience, just like you guys. And I asked the same question. Who in here gets out of the shower and says, I'm perfect? No one raised their hand. Fitness trainers. But they're all nudging this dude in the back. So this guy finally goes, he stands up. He's got like a Michael Jackson voice, which doesn't match his body whatsoever. Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's like, just can't cut this part up right here. He's pointing to his obliques. I'm like, buddy, what's your body fat? 4.5%. He's training for a show. I said, so let me get this right. You're a fitness trainer for a living. You get out of the shower, and all you see is this little tiny part that you can't cut up. That's all you see. He goes, that's all I see. Isn't that a metaphor? I mean, think about that. Think about that, right? Think about money. I was talking to Dave Liniger. Does anybody know who that is? Dave Liniger? He founded a company called Remax International. Okay, Dave's a billionaire with a B. Dave is, I'm so proud of Dave. He's like, in his 70s, started that company in 1972, him and his wife. There was an article last month in Fortune magazine. He was one of the only 5 CEOs in the top 1,500 companies that doesn't take a salary. He doesn't need money. He's already made his money. When you own a house that's like 30,000 square feet and you have a golf course, it's a private country club in your backyard, and there's 2 members, you and your wife. Yeah, true story. It's in Colorado. So we're at this event, which is international salespeople, and Dave's a big gun collector. So everybody kept telling me, hey, you got to go hang out with Dave in his gun safe. Go hang out with Dave in his gun safe. And I'm thinking, how the hell do you hang out in a gun safe? Like, I picture a gun safe like, I don't know, like 6 foot tall, 8 feet tall. No, it's a safe. It's basically a vault that he bought from Wells Fargo or whatever that's 10 feet tall. It's a huge collection of all these guns. So when he hosts parties, he likes to show you his collection. It's all safe. It's all protected. Nothing's loaded. So I go up to him. I said, Dave, first of all, thanks for having me come in. I appreciate talking to all the international salespeople. This is pretty cool. Like talking to people from 50 countries, talking about how you sell franchises in real estate. But this was before he took the company public a few years ago. When does it stop? He's like, Mike. He puts his little scotch down on this Gatling gun he's got that the U.S. Army gave him. He gives to the Wounded Warriors Project, millions of dollars. So the U.S. Army gave him this gun that's never been shot before. It's like 8 feet long. It's in a glass casing. Puts the scotch down. And he goes, I wake up every day. I picture a pie graph. Okay? Century 21, Remax, Coldwell Banker. I want it all. I'm like, whoa. Like, this guy's fierce. You don't become a billionaire. You don't become a leader at that level if you're not thinking about that. Now, is he struggling for money? Of course he's not. Okay, is the guy who's getting out of the shower and looking at this little tiny oblique, thinking about he is not perfect? This is what we do. We struggle with our self-esteem, self-confidence, right? Self-talk. We're going to get this in a minute. 1,000 words a minute you talk to yourself. Let me ask you a question. Do you think it's mostly good or bad? Just go ahead and listen to yourself right now. What do you think about? Don't worry, there's only 8 slides on the PowerPoint. What do you think about? You want to know what kind of suit it is? Do you want to know?
Yeah.
I'll tell you later.
Okay.
What are you thinking about?
The greatest presentation.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. What do you think? Huh? Marriage? Tell me about that.
Oh, I'd rather not.
Did you just get married? Are you getting married?
Feel me out here.
No.
No.
You're engaged?
Attorney-client privilege.
Okay. Are you a lawyer?
Yeah.
Okay. So we got fair enough. I'll back off you then. What are you thinking? Listen to yourself. 1,000 words a minute. I was doing a presentation. True story. So you all have cell phones, right? Can I grab this real quick? Don't worry, I won't show it off. So Gary Tucker, he is a CEO. He used to run Motorola. Okay, he started Motorola way back in the day. CEO for 23 years. So he's a member of our church. So we had him come in and do a presentation for business leaders in our church. And Gary's retired. He's mid-70s, whatever he is. And at the end of his presentation, the cameras were off. We were just kind of hanging out. And I was the mediator. I was like the one that was like the facilitator. And he pulls out this cell phone. And he holds it up. He goes, by the way, the average audience member was probably 35 to 40 in that group, probably 100 people. He goes, I want to apologize for this. He's dead serious. I don't even know where, this is off script. Like, we've done the presentation. We're already doing all the prep. And he's done. Like, he's going off on a tangent. But I'm going to let him roll. I mean, I figured, hell, he's the CEO of Motorola. He's got something to say. He's going to say it. He goes, this right here has transformed communication, the way we believe, and how we communicate with each other. He goes, and I'm embarrassed by it. He goes, I took this thing that I know more about than you know. I know how everything fires in this phone. I helped create this in 1968. Okay, I took this to North Korea in 1969. I took this to Europe in 1972. So I know how this phone works. But I never in my mind imagined that this phone would become what it is. Because it's a universe. It changes everything. Communication, your marriage, your kids, the way you communicate with each other. You said it right before you introduced, right? Turn your phones off, put it on silent. He's apologizing for this thing. So I went up to him at the end of the meeting. I said, Gary, tell me a little bit about that. You seem really emotional. He goes, here's what's ridiculous. He goes, I was home at Christmas time, and I have one of my grandsons, who's a freshman in college. And he's telling me about one of his courses in college. Guess what the name of the course is? How to have a conversation. This is a top 25 school. I won't name it. He told me it. How to have a conversation. We're all guilty of this stuff, right? That universe that you open up first thing in the morning. Who checks their cell phone first thing in the morning? Like you let emails pile in, Facebook, social media. Come on, raise your hands. Be proud. Yeah. Why? What's good news? Are people telling you you're amazing at 6 in the morning? Hey, you're awesome, man. I love you. Hey, keep kicking ass in life.
Thanks.
Thanks for being you, bro. Who does that? Who watches the news first thing in the morning? Raise your hand. Okay, what's going on in the news at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning in Southern California? Traffic, weather. Huh?
Bad stuff.
It ain't good. You don't hear about little Johnny collecting jackets for the homeless at 7 o'clock in the morning. Who watches American Idol or the Olympics? I wouldn't even watch the Olympics. I love the Olympics. But you know what bums me out? I'm watching at 8 o'clock at night with my 8-year-old and my 5-year-old, and they keep teasing every 15 minutes what's going to happen after the Olympics are over. At 9 o'clock, the news comes on. Guess what? It ain't about gold medals. It ain't all the athletes in Arizona where I live, right? All bad news. Serial shooter, monsoon, right? Consciousness. We bring this into our life every day when we wake up. We have a conscious choice. We're going to get into that. You'll see this on the slide. Happiness is a choice. People go, no. It's part of it. And that's partly true. 50% of your ability to be happy is genetic. 50%. It's 50. 50%. So you can either thank your parents or not thank your parents. Okay? Because some of you don't have those genes, and some of you do have those genes. It's called a genetic set point. 40%, though, is conscious choice. So checking email, watching the news, all that stuff that we do through that cell phone. And that's why when I listen to a guy like Gary Tucker tell me, man, I apologize for that thing. I had no idea this was going to transform the way we communicate with each other. I mean, we all know this, right? All the different things that we use that cell phone for. How many people are on social media? Raise your hand. Oh, let me do it the other way. Who's not on social media at all? You have LinkedIn, though, right?
That doesn't count.
That does count.
It does not.
That does kind of count. All right. They're on Facebook. I know. I mean, if I track, it's funny. You're one of the wives. I track through your wife.
A little bit.
A little bit. This is our life. I remember the first time I ever did national television live. First time ever was Fox National in New York City. Never forget this. You can go on my YouTube channel, Google it. It's all out there. And this was during the last election, which would have been when McCain ran, John Edwards ran. So this is years ago. Was that 08 or 12? 08? Yeah, it's been a while. So here I'm live. Osman is the commentator, and he's known to go off script, and I'm not there to talk politics. I'm there to talk about public speaking, how we communicate with each other, as when you're on stage, so to speak. I've been doing this a lot with Trump. People are coming, hey, how's Trump come across? Forget if it's right or left. How does he deliver physiologically as a public speaker, et cetera, et cetera. So the producer says, Mike, you're not there to talk about the right or the left. You're there to talk about presentation. So don't worry. Osman knows this. The way you're seated at the table, he knows the person on the left is the leftist, the person on the right is the right, and you're on the far right, you're like the guy that's going to talk about color. Perfect. But she whispers in my ear right before I go live. I mean, you're live. You're in this big ass studio. It's like you see the ticker. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right, there's no editing. And she goes, David's known to go off script, man. So just be on your feet. I'm like, okay, I got this. I know my talking points. So he goes left, right. Everything's going to script. And then he goes to me. I'm supposed to be talking about public speaking. Okay, that's what I'm there to talk about. Osman goes, I don't know, Mike. Does this election really come down to the issues? I mean, it really comes down to one thing, doesn't it? I'm thinking, okay, where's he going with this? Like, is he teeing me up, or is he throwing me under the bus? It comes down to one issue. Abortion, right? What? I mean, you can see it plain on camera. My face just goes white as ghost. And I look down, I meander my way through this whole thing for it seems like a lifetime for me if it's only like 2 seconds on live camera. I'm like, I don't know, Dave. I mean, it doesn't really care about, Americans don't know the issues. They care about how you come across. So I go back to my talking points, right? Then he hammers me again. He goes, no, don't be like a politician. I'm like, answer the question. I'm like, buddy, I'm here to talk about the color. I'm not here to talk about the issues. Talk to the left and the right. They're right next to me. Okay, I get off set. Now, when you go in live studio, as a bald guy, they cake on this makeup. It's like 3 layers deep, and ladies know what I'm talking about. I mean, it's layers deep. So they have these big wipes. I'm wiping my head off, throwing the things in the garbage can. I'm all upset, thinking I just blew it on live television, right? My wife's texting me, you did great. My buddies are texting me, great. My mentor, Dan Leary, you did great. Okay? All these text messages, all these emails. Did a good job, man. Good hit. I get this one guy, some tool, who I've never met in my life, sends me an email on my website. You're a typical politician, man. You don't answer the questions. You stray from the issues, and you're like every other politician does a terrible hit, or whatever he says. I don't know. I still have the damn thing, but I don't read it anymore. But I'm sitting there coming out of the studio, and I read this thing on my phone. That damn phone. One guy who I've never met in my life, some stranger, is throwing me under the bus about how I didn't do the hit right. But I got all these other great emails and texts. Isn't that true of life? I mean, imagine you come into work. You got 100 emails coming through. Hey, you're doing great. Hey, we're excited to work with you. Hey, we're going to close the deal. And then you get one email, a client who's upset or pissed or whatever. What do you focus on? Right? 1,000 words a minute that we talk to ourselves. This is infectious. And that phone doesn't help, by the way. I saw something on Facebook. You may have seen this. These schools now institute these racks. Have you seen this? You have your own little phone rack. So when you come into class, you put your phone in the rack. I told my wife, I'm like, we need to do this at home. Like, seriously, because she's in the media, I'm in the media, we do stuff. But it's become so infectious with communication. And guess what? The kids see it. We have 2 boys, 8 and 5. They pick up on this. Hell, they know how to work my phone. They know my passwords. They know everything about my phone. It's all good. I mean, they're growing up in the technology age. I'm not going to deny them of that. But let's be real about communication and how we don't communicate the way we used to. How many people are married in here? Show of hands. Okay. How many people were in your wedding? How many guys? Feel like you have your best
40-ish.
How many people were in your wedding party? I'm sorry.
Oh, the wedding party was 18.
18?
Yeah.
Okay. So when's the last time that you spoke to all of them on the phone?
Not very recently.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in the same boat. I had 10. I text, I Facebook, I post, I like. Right? Is that really communication? Pick up the damn phone. Call your buddy. Call your uncle. Call your cousin. Call your grandparent. Call your friend who's your mentor. And you say, hey, you know what? I got to be honest with you, man. I fell victim to social media. I've been watching you from afar. Mike's no different. Him and I had this conversation a month ago. Before I came in here, I go, buddy, we need to work on this. We were best friends. We lived together. He guys knows a lot of stuff about me. And I know a lot of stuff about him. And that's a bond, right? Information, history, friendship. But we lose track of that because of communication. So what today is about is not necessarily making more money. It's how you communicate. And I'm going to tell you straight up. The deeper you go with people, the better off you will be. The deeper you go with people, be willing to go there with people. I always say there's like the ocean metaphor. You guys are on the coast, so you guys will appreciate this. Well, when you fly into Orange County like I did today, I was looking out the window. You don't see sharks swimming up on the top of the ocean. They don't swim up there. They're down below. Life is down below. The bottom half of the ocean is where the majority of life form exists in the ocean. You guys agree with that, right? I mean, it's a fact. Isn't it the same thing in communication? Think about that. So if I ask you, hey, how you doing today?
All right.
All right. How you doing today?
Still can hear from this year.
Okay. You're good, man. I like that.
Good.
Good. What's your canned answer? Good?
Good or okay?
Okay. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Good.
How you doing? Good. Good. How about this one? Ask me how I'm doing.
How you doing?
You really want to know? I'm going to tell you. Let's see. Let's see. It's been I haven't had sex in 8 days. Okay. My son is going through some potty issues at night. Super stressed. Came off of a vacation a couple weeks ago, and I just you want me to keep going?
I got time.
You don't want to know this stuff. TMI. Too much information. Right? You don't want to know this stuff. So what do? You swim at 6 feet. How you doing? Good. How you doing? Good. You're not doing good. Your life sucks. I already know this. And I love this company. I already know about this company. I've known it for years. But if I secretly had to test you, 88% of people in this culture, in this country, corporate America, if they were given the choice to leave their current job and do something totally different, travel the world, do whatever, 88% would do it. And you know what? I get it. I don't like getting on the road, being away from my kids. I love what I do. But if I could pick my choice, I would like to own the Yankees. Just sit in a press box all day and just be Brian Cashman or be the general manager of the Yankees. That'd be awesome. Right? Deal with A-Rod. Hell, I'd do that all day long. I love baseball. But I'm not doing that. Okay? It's no different for us. So when you're honest with yourself, right, about the self-talk, the belief, how you communicate, all stuff binds. Beliefs drive behaviors. So whatever your beliefs are, that comes from your life experience, right? Whatever your life experience, they're called peak moments. Peak moments are things in your life that happen to you that shape who you are. You've probably heard this before, right? You're the sum of all your life experiences or all the things that have happened in your life. That's who you are. But when you step back and you look backwards and you think, you know what, I remember that time when I was 12. I remember that time when I graduated from college. Or I remember that time when I didn't make the team. Or I remember that time I was voted whatever. I just went to my 25-year high school reunion. Has anybody done a reunion before? Isn't that a trip? It's a trip. You got your little picture. I had hair. I'm like taking a sticker, put it on. I'm like, wow, it doesn't look like me, but hey. And then people remember for who you were. They don't know who you are. Even I just had a book come out in June about dads and being a father. That's my identity now. But that wasn't my identity when I was 18. So people start asking you all these questions. Hey, remember that time sophomore year, man? We went undefeated in football. Remember that last play of the game? Dave Shaw ran it 92 yards for a touchdown. I'm like, I kind of remember that. But people hold meaning to things based off life experiences. I'm not judging. That's just the way it is. My meanings are different. I remember being in mock trial my senior year of high school. I remember all those times being in the courtroom, doing stuff and preparing for law school. But I don't remember some things on the football field. But some other people do. Your life experiences are based off your life experiences create the beliefs, and the beliefs drive behavior. Make sense? All right. So let's go ahead and jump into this. I want to show you a couple of things here, rules of engagement. So there was a book. Has anybody read the book called Good to Great? Have you read that live? Good to Great?
I don't read.
There's a new version of it coming out. It's called, I can't remember the name of it offhand, but the guy's name is Collins, if you want to read it. He had basically all his students, his grad students, do all the studies about great companies and good companies in the same space. So it's like a Walgreens and a CPS, a B of A, a Wells Fargo. So he creates a jump-off point financially where one company went this way, another company went this way. Another example is Blockbuster. Blockbuster went this way. Who went the other way? Netflix went this way. Right? So he studies the company. So he talks about the leadership and the mindset, salespeople and leadership within the corporations that are great. And he calls it rules of engagement. It's a military term. You've probably heard that before. So there's a guy named Stockdale. Probably a lot of you wouldn't know this. I didn't know this until I read the book. Stockdale was one of the gentlemen who was imprisoned during the Vietnam War. John McCain was imprisoned. He's our senator in Arizona. Stockdale, there's several others. These guys were in prison for 5 to 7 years, depending on. So now he's a motivational speaker, a writer, et cetera. But Jim Collins went and interviewed him and said, hey, you made it out. Like, you survived being a prisoner for 5 years. And we've heard the stories and the documentaries. How did you do it? I mean, you had to be, like, positive, right? Positive thinking, optimistic. He was like, oh, no. The people who made it out were realists. We woke up every day and confronted the brutal facts of our situation. The people who imprisoned them knew Morse code. So the scratching on the rocks, they figured that communication out. Communication. That's how they bound together, was they created their own language. So when John McCain was 2 cells over from Stockdale, they created their own way to communicate with each other. There wasn't Morse code or scratching. So they had their own code that they created. That's how they had purpose and a why. If you think about it, purpose and why are huge, right? If you don't have a purpose or a why, what are you doing? You're just taking up air, right? There was a study done a few years back. People who attempted suicide and lived. And they asked the question, why did you do it? Same answer. Can you guess? Why would somebody take their life? Think about it. You got no purpose. There's no reason. No job, no family, no money. You got no reason to be here anymore. So you just take your life. It's easier to go out. I've had 3 clients in the history of my coaching career that have been in that spot. I've coached them out of it. It wasn't me. It was them finding their purpose. It was just me asking the right question and getting them to associate with the purpose. When one gentleman tells me at 58 years old, 2 years from retirement, I went through all my accounts and everything I own, all my real estate holdings that are underwater this after 08 when the market took a dump and all around the country. He goes, I literally am better off dead. My family will be worth more if I somehow figure out how not to be here anymore. So my insurance will pay off. Life insurance. He had $6 million in life insurance, which would pay off his debts and his family would be good. My buddy. Purpose. Go back to what you just said. Your kids are in college, man. They love you. They look up to you. Having a sense of purpose. But it's so easy for us to get away from that, right? We get so straight into our self-talk. 1,000 words a minute. All the things that we don't have. Me looking at that one damn email from some tool I've never met. The guy who gets out of the shower, who's got a perfect body, and sees one little tiny oblique that he can't cut. Okay, Dave Lineker, who always sees the pie graph. The guy's a billionaire and doesn't even take a salary. Purpose. Why? So when you wake up every day and you come to work, you gotta think about that stuff, right? Why do you do this? I hope this isn't just a job. I mean, we talked on the phone. We were doing prep work. This isn't the kind of job that you just come into like a call center, stay for 6 months, and then you're gone. I mean, I work with a lot of those. That's why I asked the question before coming into this to this team. Purpose. That you're here. You got to stick around. JOB, does anybody know what that stands for? JOB? What's that stand for? Just over broke. That's right. Just over broke. Clock watchers. Coming at 8, got my lunch at noon, I'm out at 4. Get my paycheck every 2 weeks. Direct deposit. Boom. Job. JOB. Right? That's what this is. Purpose. But I want you to think about stepping back and how you communicate. When you think about these rules of engagement, Lavin said something that was interesting, which I appreciate you saying. Authentic. So curious, compassionate, authentic, and loving. CALC. If you want to write that down. Curious, compassionate, authentic, and loving. I made that up years ago. Somebody told me, well, what's that mean to you? That's not where you operate from. When you come from a place of authenticity, you come from love, and you love what you do, and you're compassionate about people. Compassion is another word of putting yourself in the other person's shoes. Like you actually get out of your own self, and you think about where the other person's coming from. Most people don't do that in behavior, unfortunately. But when you operate from that place, it's a very powerful place in sales. I remember my favorite CALC story was when my son, he's 8 years old now, we wanted to get an SUV. We only had cars up until that point. I wanted to have a bigger car. Logic tells me, hey, higher up, bigger car, safety, right? So I have clients that are in I was talking to a couple of folks, BMW dealership down in South Bay. It's one of my clients, Peter Bosa, South Bay, BMW. And he goes, well, what do you want? I said, well, I want an SUV. He goes, well, I can get you the X3 or the X5 or whatever. Come go on the lot in Scottsdale and see what you like, and we'll figure it out. So I go on there, and this nice kid, he's probably late 20s, early 30s. He's asking all the right questions. What do you want? What's most important thing to you. My wife's with me. She's pregnant. He's playing it up, man. He knows how to ask the right questions. He's angling everything towards her. He figures out that, she's the one that's emotional about it. I'm the one that's financial about it, right? He's a sharp guy, very well trained. So she's over there in the car, and he looks at me and goes, Mike, I'm going to ask you a simple question. What's the number one thing? It's the most important thing to you in this decision? Number one. It was like a weird moment. Like he was whispering and trying to talk to her because she was off and away. I said, buddy, I got to be honest with you. I said, call me effed up, but I just picture higher up and bigger. Like if there was going to be an accident, God forbid, and I have a baby in the car, I have a higher chance of probabilities. It's in my favor. It's physics, right? It's like, no, I can't sell you the next 5, man. Sorry. I'm like, Peter recommended me as a client. I love BMWs. What do you mean? He's like, well, it's not the heaviest vehicle. It's not the tallest vehicle. And it's not the one that's going to get your needs met. Because you need to get a Lincoln Navigator or you need to get an Escalade extended. And I can't say that. So I'm sorry. I'm like, well, you just sold yourself out of the sale. You just did are you doing a takeaway on me right now? I mean, I know this stuff from the Robbins days. You're doing a takeaway. He was being authentic. He was being loving. He was being compassionate. He put himself in my shoes. And when I walked off the lot, which I didn't get the X5, I ended up getting a Navigator, which is now called the Retmobile. Still have it. 8 years later, the Lincoln Navigator is my car because this guy was authentic with me and was loving and was willing to put himself in my shoes. Now, by the way, the caveat is, guess what my next car was?
7 Series.
5, but it was a BMW.
You're a 7 guy.
I'm a 5 guy. No, 7's too long, man. It's too long. It's too long. Dan Lear's a 7 guy. He's 6'8". I had to get a BMW from this guy. I felt so damn bad because he was so authentic. He was so loving. He talked himself out of a sale. He didn't care because he put himself in his operating point. So I want you to think about these as rules of engagement. And by the way, are we going to distribute this? We're going to. The whole team will have this deck, right? Okay. So if you're not taking notes, that's fine. But I want you to think about these things. And I've talked about some of these things already: behaviors and beliefs, conscious choice, happiness. If you keep doing what you're doing, we call that insanity. You know that, right? I almost went insane today. Almost went insane. I was at the airport in Phoenix. I love USA Today. I don't know why. I just like the sports page and the Olympics page and all that stuff. Putting the quarters in, trying to get rid of my change. Put it in there like $1. Pull it. Doesn't open. Damn. That's what I do. Put another $1 in. Another $1. Pull it. I'm like, damn. Twice. $2, I'm out. No paper. Now I'm going. I literally, my voice kicked in. Mike, you keep doing what you're doing. You're getting what you get. You're going insane, literally, in the airport trying to get a paper. So, of course, I went over to the gal. She gave me the change back out paper. But this is what we do every day. Every day we think about your patterns. You're a function of patterns. Sleep patterns, work patterns, friendship patterns, those people you haven't connected with patterns, right? All those things that are you. Those are all behaviors. But those are all driven by your belief system. Belief systems are based off your life experiences. But you can change. Today is life experience. You can walk out of today and choose consciously and say, you know what? I like the message. Sound. He wasn't making us walk in a fire. We weren't doing board breaking. He didn't make me fall off the table backwards and have my friends hold me up. He's just talking to me purely as a human being, as a father, as a man, as somebody who cares. And you walk out and you do what you want with it. And Mike said it best. That wasn't even in my script to him. If you found one idea, that's part of my deal. If you just found one thing and said, I'm going to go do that. I didn't know this, but this happened about 3 years ago. It was just a story. I mean, you can tell I'm kind of comedic. I'll just talk off the cuff. There's no script, right? I get all these emails after this one presentation when I brought up the whole email thing on the phone. There was 100 people, insurance brokers, had 100 people in the room. I had no less than a third, about 25 to 30, email me within a month. I do feedbacks. And I said, what's your biggest takeaway? I couldn't believe it. The biggest takeaway was the phone thing. Like, Mike, I don't turn my phone on. I leave that damn thing off on airplane mode until I'm ready to get the bad news. Guy told a story about how it was like 5 in the morning. I opened up my email and I lost a deal and I was pissed. I was pissy with my kids. Bad mood with my wife already. Ruined my day. I said, that's it, no more. So I'm not turning my phone on until I'm prepared to handle the bad news. Now, I don't look for bad news every day, but you're going to get some of those emails that are project-based, timeline-based, that are stressful that you're going to bring into your consciousness. And guess what? You can't unring the bell. We learned that in law school, right? Once you say it, you can't put it back in. So whether it's news, whether it's your phone, or whatever, conscious choice. You have a choice in this matter. Now, when the study that I'm going to show you in a minute, there was a movie called The Happy Movie. Has anybody seen this before? Has anybody seen The Happy Movie? It's a documentary that came out a few years ago. So they studied happiness levels of the brain all around the world. Okay, great movie, by the way. It's on Netflix. It's free. It'll motivate you. Trust me, it'll put things in perspective very quickly when it comes to your own life. So at the very beginning of the movie, they have this guy, I believe he's in Sri Lanka, if I remember right. He's a cab driver, which is like a rickshaw driver, where they hold the thing and they run through the city. He's got these little, like, he's basically barefoot. I mean, mud and water and all that stuff. He's got no teeth. He's talking to the camera through an interpreter. The very beginning of the movie. And he's telling his life. This is what I do for a living. Here's what I get paid. Here's what I do. Here's the pain I go through. And then he walks you into his house. Finger quotes for purpose. It's like a shanty town. Okay, it's got the aluminum roof. Okay, it's got a big waterway that goes through it. They got a hole over in the side. It's where they go to the bathroom in the mud. They have 12 people that live in the home. Grandparents, great-grandparents, kids, everything. And the guy's being interviewed. And you're like, wow, this life sucks. And the hook at the beginning of the movie is this guy is as happy as the average American. Yeah. They study brainwaves. They ask him the questions. They're like, this guy is as happy as the average American. I'm like, oh, I got to watch this. I didn't even know about the movie. I was just thumbing through Netflix. I'm like, that first 5 minutes of that movie hooked me. So I got to find out what does it take? 50% is genetic. 40% is conscious choice. Me opening up that email, right? Me looking in the mirror, watching the news, whatever. 10% is general life circumstance. That's if you're married, your kids, where the environment's a big one. I didn't know this. I was speaking a couple years ago in Canada, right after the study came out. And this gal had raised her hand, and she goes, Mike, what you're talking about, that 10%, it's so true. She goes, you know that we have the highest incident of depression where we are in this part of Canada because of the sunlight, right? They have short days. When you're way up there, I mean, you have long days, and you have short days, right? It's cold. They have this thing called the most depressing day of the year. You guys know this? I'm just curious. When would you think, in a calendar year, what's the most depressing day of the year? That's not a trick. This is truth. When would that be?
The most darkness. Long day, shortest day.
When would it be? What day?
Tax day.
Yeah, surprisingly, no. Third Monday of January. Monday. Who loves Mondays? Usually hands don't go up. No one likes Mondays. Okay, you're hungover or whatever. Okay, then you got credit debt from the holidays, which is 78% of Americans. Right? Your bills are coming in January. You have short days, cold weather. Now, I live in Arizona. You guys live in Southern California. I mean, come on, January ain't that bad. Right? All that convergence of events creates depression. So what they have a thing called the happy lamp. Do you know about this? Do you know? You laugh. Do you know about it?
I think it's where you raise your vitamin D in it.
Correct.
It's like a tanning bed.
The doctor gives you a script for a lamp. So you can sit there in your room and have a lamp shine on your face. Don't worry about it. It's true. I can't make this stuff up. I mean, people come up to me and tell me this stuff. And when I give events, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so true. The most depressed country in the world, according to the study. It's not America. What do you think it is? What do you think? Japan. Have you ever seen, go on YouTube when I get out of here, go on YouTube, punch in Japanese subway picture. You think New York's bad? They have a guy who gets paid to push everybody into the subway so the doors can shut. True story. Didn't know that until I read the study. The average Japanese person lives in a square footage area It's probably the size of your bedroom. 800 square feet, 700 square feet or something. I mean, anymore. I mean, come on, can you imagine? And they're on top of each other. Boom, boom, boom. Just pushing each other. You think New York's bad? I mean, New York's a joke. The most happy countries on the planet. Take a wild guess. Not U.S. Sweden, Denmark, Norway. Why? Why? Why are they so damn happy? Why do you think? The study proved it. Why do you think they're happy?
High income, low population.
It's community. They're a community. Some of you don't even know your neighbors. I'm going to raise my hand. I live in a cul-de-sac of 10 homes. Okay, I didn't meet all my neighbors until a year. I had a cul-de-sac. I'm at the end. I drive by everybody. Hey, what's up? Okay. 9 months later, I'm like, hey, what's the guy's next door? The guy came over. What's his name? Oh, it's Cliff. Oh, shit. I see him every day mowing his lawn. He's a retired guy. No, I don't know the guy. 6 foot. Communication. How you doing? Good. How you doing? Good. Imagine if you were in a conversation. How many single people are in here that are proud to be single? Okay, good. So, well, your hand went up pretty quick. Your hand went up pretty quick. So, you want a pickup line? Sure. I'll give you a freebie. Should I give it to him last? And so I learned my stuff.
As long as it's not one of my old ones.
Real simple. Male or female, doesn't matter. No different. You look at somebody after you had the niceties, hey, how you doing, where are you from, and all that stuff, and you ask a very general question. What's your story? That's it. Where do you go with that? I mean, think about that. If I'm sitting here talking to you, so what's your story? You're like, should I give him my bio? Should I tell him what job I have? Where's he going with this? Am I right? Yeah. But guess what? Every person wants to tell their story. Every person. Give them a chance. So when you're in sales, it's no different. I know it's kind of weird because we talked about this. Relationships are the name of the game in this business. You know this. People are going to come and go. Sales managers, general managers, owners. People are going to get bought. I work with some of the high Zangos of the world. I mean, he's on the board of my nonprofit. He owns some big companies in this country, and you know who I'm talking about. Okay? He doesn't really know what's going on at that level. You do because you know the GM, you know the sales manager, you know the finance person. But having that relationship, which may move, but having that deeper conversation because you know the story. How many people in here own a journal? I said own a journal. I'd say write in one, own one, like this. You have one? Do you write in it? Is it more personal or business? But when you're at work, though, do you write it into your journal? Like if you're talking to a conversation or, okay. Huge fan. This is a statement. When you walk into a meeting, you're on a phone call. I mean, a lot of times your clients don't get to see you. You're on the phone. I get that. But just taking notes. Date the call, date the conversation, put their name on it, and start downloading the things that are below 6 foot. It's a trip. When you start getting into people's stuff, every parent wants to talk about their kid. Did you know that every kid is like the best kid on the planet? Did you know this? I mean, I live in Paradise Valley, Scottsdale, so it's like Orange County. It's heightened, right? So I remember when my little guy, Rep Man, was going into kindergarten at this private school. So you have the night before school starts is parent night. And that's where everyone's like beating on their chest, telling how badass their kid is, right? So this one woman, she's wearing her Lululemon, totally fit. She doesn't have a job. She's working out 4 times a day. Typical Scottsdale life, right? Dad's never around. I've never seen the dude, ever. I saw him at parent night, and then I never saw him ever again. Typical. Okay, she's telling us how great the kid is. Parent night. The next morning, I drop off our kids at school. By the way, I was super proud. There was only like 22 kids in the class. 3 dads showed up. I was one of them. I'm like, yes. I mean, that's what I want to be anyway. It's not a competition, but it's sad when the dads don't show up. They make all the money and let the wives go do the Lulu or whatever the hell they do, right? So the wife comes up to the teacher and says, hey, by the way, she doesn't like to be touched. She's got a lot of issues. But you have to keep her distance from her. Like if you're going to talk to her, you have to get her to level. I mean, she laid out a list of issues about this kid. Who's in kindergarten? I'm like, that's called being a kid. But the night before, best kid on the planet. Best guy on the planet. Getting through the BS with people. The belief system. You thought I said yes, like that's not it. The belief system that people have about themselves, their family, their kids, the things that they want. People want to talk about this stuff. Believe it or not, I'm not going to do this today because I'm not licensed to do this per Lavin. We can do the Tony Robbins route. I can just have you stand up and start getting into your stuff right now. I'll dive into you deep.
Let's have Corey do it. Just for
No, we won't. And stuff will come out. You have issues. I got issues. You got issues. You got major issues.
I know.
And I do too. We all have them. It's equal. No one's got more issues than the others, but just get open up and talk about it. Authentic is what Lavin said. Be authentic with people. You know what? The more vulnerable you are, the more people will open up to you in sales. I love asking people in sales, so what's your story? So what are you looking forward to? Hey, what's holding you up? Why are you not going to the next level? The car sales industry? Oh my goodness. These guys are trained by a bunch of gurus in that industry, just so you know. You probably know this. They go to these seminars, the Robbins. It's not even Robbins. So they're trained within the industry to eat sales for lunch. So you got to go at them. They're the easiest people to sell to. When you get a GM, a sales manager, the finance guy's a little different. I'll spot you that one. But you get those two or the owner on the phone, you just talk to them like rough. Go at them, high dominance, ask the closing question. And this is my favorite script. Tony Robbins taught me this 18 years ago. You wouldn't respect me as a salesperson if I didn't ask you this question. The sales manager goes, yeah, what is it? They shut up because they've been trained that question. You wouldn't respect me as a salesperson if I didn't ask you this question. Are we going to move forward or not? Are we going to redo this deal? Are we going to move forward? Yes or no? When can I hear back from you? Don't tell me next week, because next week's a bunch of days. I want to know specifically and measurably when you're going to talk to me. Okay? You hold them accountable, right? You ask those specific measurable things because that's how they're trained to do it, right? It's like talking to another parent. Parents know. You talk to parents, it's a different vibe. Parents get parents. Single people get single people. Salespeople get each other. And when you start to talk to people authentically through that filter, you get away with murder in sales. Especially in the car industry. I'll never forget this. I was in the first city I did after I left Lab, and I left Mission Beach to go take my job. I'll never forget that day. It's tough. Getting on a plane and go from San Diego to Atlanta to meet a bunch of strangers that I didn't know in Druid Hills, Atlanta, Georgia. And one of my first meetings was a car dealership. And it was used car salesman. So the meeting setters had set our appointments for us. I was new. I was a rookie. So you come in with your script and you talk about what you're going to do, and then at the end you sell them a program, right, which is coaching or sales training or whatever. These guys are like not listening. Okay, it looked like classrooms. They're throwing papers across the room. They're not giving me any respect whatsoever. They didn't respect the leader. The leader gave me a crappy intro. Hey, this is Mike. He's going to motivate you to do his Dog and Pony show. Good luck, Mike. Walks off. I'm like, okay, great. And I thought, you know what? These guys, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. Here I'm thinking, I just got out of law school. Like I'm smarter than these guys. What am I doing here? I need to go back to San Diego and go do what Lavin's going to do. What the hell am I listening to a bunch of used car salesmen being a sales guy? And then it hit me. Just be real with these guys. Just be real. I said, guys, you know what's funny? I just read a study. I said there's 3 jobs in the United States that are the most disrespected jobs in the country. Do you guys know what they are? And I asked them. Like, yeah, I know you're picking on us. Used car salesman. Yeah. Yeah, that's one of them. You're at the bottom. That's true. It's true. Second from the bottom. Does anybody want to guess? Second from the bottom? Police officer. Real estate agent. Third, lawyer. Okay, when you told somebody at a cocktail party, I'm a lawyer, they're already shut down. Real estate agent? Oh, you're going to give me your card, right? With your picture on it from 1925. Right? And let's be real. Or used car salesman. Imagine you're at a social function. Hey, what do you do for a living? I sell used cars. All right. Good for you, buddy. Okay. So I said, guys, I can relate with you. I just graduated from law school. I hate walking into anything and tell people I just graduated from law school because people judge me. I said, don't you guys get that? I mean, come on, let's be real, guys. Do you lie about what you do? I mean, do you walk into a social function and tell people you're a used car salesman? And like, we call it automotive consultant. I'm like, that's bullshit. You're a used car salesman. Okay? Relatability. Getting people to go deep. I swear, within 2 minutes, just asking the right questions. Quality of life equals the quality of the questions you ask yourself. If you go deeper with people and you're showing vulnerability, people will open up to you. But you have to be willing to go there yourself. And this is one of the biggest challenges that we have, is we're not willing to go there ourselves because we have issues. And when we clean up those issues and we're just authentic with people, and we can open up our vulnerability. You don't need to go pour out your life. I mean, you know that person too. You probably have family members. I have plenty of them, trust me. My grandfather passed away a couple weeks ago. People are just coming out of the woodworks in my family about their stuff. But that's life, right? But the more that we're real about it and we can open up and talk to people in sales, go below that 6-foot level, go to the bottom of the ocean. The bottom of the ocean is where the life form is. That's where the pressure is. Yeah, it's a little dark. It's a little cold down there. But you know what? That's where life exists. When you communicate with people, period. Make sense? Any questions so far? Does everybody follow me? Raise your hand. I want to make sure you guys are still with me. All right. Hands are still up. That's good laugh. They're not asleep. So definition of change. We already talked about change. You think about the trajectory of your life. I don't ever want to come into a meeting or in somebody's life and change their life. If you just change the trajectory just a little bit, to Lavin's point, one idea. I've been saying this for years. And my friend Chris, who's a pilot, he goes, Mike, you know they use that metaphor about taking off from Los Angeles and going to New York on a plane and off by 1 degree due south? He goes, you tell that all the time. I said, yeah, well, where do you end up, by the way? So he punched it into his instruments. Let me tell you, if you're up 1 degree due south from LAX to New York, you don't end up in New York. You're just slightly north of like North Carolina. I can't remember the plot point, but that's not the same place. North Carolina and New York, one's in the north and one's in the south. Okay, all of you remember the Civil War? Okay, 2 different sides of the border. Different cultures. Human behavior, though, it doesn't matter where you are, north or south. It doesn't matter where you are. It's looking at yourself and saying, what can I change about myself? If it's one thing or 1 degree that's slight, then you change the trajectory where you want to go. All right. So a couple of things I've already hit on. I want to make sure you get this. 1,000 words a minute. We talk to ourselves. Whatever you resist will persist. You've probably heard that before. But when you think about resistance, it's interesting because like if I were to lean on this wall, I'm sorry I'm going off camera a little bit, but if I were to lean on this wall, the wall's not going anywhere, right? It's pushing back on me. It's going to hold me up. It's no different with issues in life. If I sit here and lean on my issues and I sit there and focus on it, it's going to continue to happen. You give energy to it. You're focused on it. So you have to think about that one thing in your life, whether it's self, whether it's money, whether it's relationship. Now, we don't need to do a show of hands. I already know this to be true. If there's 50 people in this room, there's at least 20% of people in this room that are not happy in a relationship. At least. And I'm not saying marriage. A relationship. A friendship. It could be a boss. It's somebody in your life. That's the complexity of life. We have the people in our life that you're constantly around. Now, I challenge you when it comes to work, if you have somebody at work or in this room or your boss or whomever, deal with it. Go sit that person down. Don't judge them anymore. Be curious about that person. Say, you know what? I'm going to take that person to lunch. I'm going to remove judgment and say, you know what? The past is the past. I'm going to go take that person to lunch and just be damn curious, ask them a bunch of questions and find out what they're about. Find out what their story is. Right? It works. Let me tell you. Now, a funny caveat to this. A couple of years ago, I was doing insurance, or as a financial advisor firm. And I got this guy who called me up about a month after the event. He goes, Mike, man, I love what you said, man. He goes, but I got to tell you, I've had 8 lunches. Like, people are calling me for lunch. I'm like, buddy, that's called feedback. I mean, if 8 people took my advice and they're calling you out saying, hey, I don't want to judge you anymore because you're kind of an a-hole, and I want to take you to lunch just to find out who you are because I'm curious about who you might be. I mean, can you imagine every day if you had a shirt or like a sign that was directly tied to what your issues are in your brain? Can you imagine? Like mine is, I haven't had sex in 8 days, right? Like, 8 days, that's pretty good. I've got a lot of dudes tell me that. Whatever it is, I just lost somebody in my family. I just lost my job. Taxes are due. Whatever. Kids struggling in school. I struggle with that. My son, who's 8 now, he was 3.5 until we finally figured it out that he was a late talker. It crushed me.
When you go into a therapy room and you're sitting there with 7 doctors and they're basically telling you, how'd you not figure this out? Like, you should have figured this out at 2. I'm like, man, I'm a first-time parent. You crush me more. I'm already feeling like a jackass for not catching it, but at least I'm getting the help he needs. The good news is he's fine. He's delayed speech. It's all good. Smarter than me. It's fine. But sitting in that room, if for 6 months, that's all you would have saw on my chest was the stress that I had around my son, Rhett. And you would have treated me different. You might have judged me a little bit. I don't like bald guys. I don't like motivational speakers. But if you would have saw, hey, this is a proud dad who's struggling with stuff about being a dad, you'd look at me different. Just like I would look at you different if you had stuff going on in your life or you had stuff going on in your life, right? You would look at people different, right? And that's the curiosity part. That's why judgment doesn't get you anywhere. I remember I was doing an event in Houston, Texas a couple years ago. And I said one of the rules I talked about in rules of engagement is, besides don't judge, be curious, is about going into the events, what's behind an event. Like if you were to do something, a behavior, behind it, my belief is there's some sort of positive intention. Now think about it. Whatever you do, there's a positive intention. In your mind, when you do it. So this guy raises his hand, he goes, I don't know, man, I don't agree with that. He goes, Mike, I don't know if you saw the news this morning, but this guy robbed a bank. And it was a high-speed chase, helicopters on the news in the morning. Again, not good news in the morning. So this is like 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. I'm from Phoenix. I didn't know about who this guy was or whatever. So I said, well, why would a guy rob a bank? I mean, you tell me, why would a guy rob a bank? Positive intention. Pretty simple to me. Why would you rob a bank?
Money.
He needed money. In his head. I'm not saying it's right. Our society judges that. He'll be prosecuted as such. The jury will prosecute as such, according to his peers. I get that. Okay? So it's funny, at happy hour, 5 o'clock at the end of the day, one of the gals comes up to me and she goes, that's funny, that interaction you had with the guy about the high-speed chase. She goes, well, they arrested the guy. Here's the facts. Just lost his job. Wife left him for a family member. Took the kids. Lost his job. All in a morning. Okay? No priors. Not a criminal. A good man by society standards. Snapped. So he went and said, I got to take care of what I got to take care of. So where did he go get money? You got to get it at a bank. He didn't have a gun. He had a bag, no gun in it, and he got $2,000 out of it. So he wanted to take care of his kids. Now, let me ask you, if you're a jury, the fact pattern changed a little bit. You're sitting there listening to the facts. You're like, oh, well. I mean, I'm a dad. I'm not saying I'd go rob a bank, but I kind of understand. Like, if you got to take care of business, you resort to ways that you might not think about, right? Don't judge. Be curious. You ask more questions. And that's where you start to see who the real self is. So when we talk about these things about mindset, it's a lot about questions. You'll see that as a common theme. So we talked about this a little bit, but I want to give you this as a timeline. So when you read this, let me go back. So this is a sequence of events. Life experience creates a belief. Belief creates a behavior. Behaviors get results, and patterns start to form. It's a sequence. It's called a timeline, or we call it syntax. So when you have a life experience, that's something that happens to you, right? You got fired, you lose a deal. That's a life experience, and then you create a belief. You've all had this one happen, I guarantee it. You think you're going to close this deal or whatever, and the person doesn't get back to you. They tell you, you're on the 1 yard line. It's yours to have. And then they don't call you back. And then you follow up. They don't call you back. You follow up. They don't call you back. Okay? The belief that you had at minute 1 versus day 5 totally changes. Have you not had this happen before? Like with friends? This happened with one of my top clients. Send him a text. Hey, buddy, how you doing, man? Just checking on you. No text return. This guy's got his phone in his pocket all the time. Okay? Phone call. Nothing. So day 2, day 3, day 4, I'm starting to go from what's going on to I'm worried. And then I went to, hey, I think the guy's just writing me off. I don't know if he's going through whatever. Maybe he's in rehab. Maybe he's going through depression. I don't know. My brain's going in a million directions because we talk to ourselves in 1,000 words a minute. And when you have that kind of situation, it's usually not good. I'm not thinking about he's off in Guam building homes for homeless people. That's not what I'm thinking. I'm thinking about worry. Then he finally calls me back. 3 weeks later. 3 weeks. All my beliefs, all my self-talk, all that crap. He goes, man, I'm really sorry, man. We had a family affair, lost somebody tragically, and I had to go deal with it. So you're on a list of 50 to 70 people I need to get a hold of. I'm sorry. And I'm sitting there going, man, I feel like such a diminutive person. I was like, wow, why didn't I stop and think about that possibility? I was thinking about all the things that could go wrong, especially as an entrepreneur, as a salesperson, right? You're thinking about closing the deal, you're going to make money, you're going to get a commission, you're taking care of your family, and all of a sudden things go south. And you start creating this language pattern in your head. So you want to be careful about this, how this sequence of events works. I promise you, most people, when you look at the results, most people step on the scale and don't like the number. Now, that's a metaphor. Okay, that's true in reality, but that's also true in life. You look at your bank account, you look at your sales number, you look at who you are. Most people have not arrived. You don't just arrive and say, I'm good. It's like, drop the mic, I'm good, and you walk stage left. I don't know, I've never dropped the mic in my whole life. I can't wait till I can. Okay, but I'm not there yet. So you keep striving and believing and doing the things that you know you want to do because your purpose is there. All right. So we talked about get what you focus on. So the things you bring in your consciousness we talked about, that's all the things you surround yourself with. There was a study done 2 years ago, Forbes magazine did this thing. The 5 people that you hang around with the most in life, you are the mean of their character. Think about that. Wife, husband, boyfriend, boss, partner, whomever, kids. You're right in the middle. Like, I don't need even to meet you. I don't need to go to lunch with you for an hour. Just give me your 5 people. I'll hang out with your 5 people for an hour, ask a bunch of questions, go deeper, put you on 6 feet, find out what you're about, and then I'm going to go, okay, I got her. It's true. I applied this on myself. I started going through all the people in my life, and I'm like, okay, Monica, my wife, Taylor, my partner. I'm like, yeah, that's about right. I mean, I got a little bit of pessimism, I got a little bit of optimism, I got a little bit of logic, I got a little bit of emotion. But the people that you surround yourself with, the most that you spend time with, that's your consciousness that affects who you are and the quality of your life. So think about that. Some people, by the way, come out of these meetings and have to get rid of people in your life. I'm not suggesting you have to do that, but there are certain people that suck the energy out of your life, and you know who they are. Am I right? Everybody's got one, right? Yeah, at least one. All right, I got a few. All right, so personal manual. We talked about rules of engagement already. We talked about psychology and motivation. Let me flip to that real quick, actually. So this is a scale, okay? 0 over here, 10 over here. Now, you think about motivation. You are more motivated by pain than you are pleasure. It's real simple, okay? Boss man sits you down and says, hey, by the way, I got a $50 spiff today if you close the deal. Okay, pleasure. Sounds good. Or, hey, by the way, 4 o'clock, if you don't have a deal done, you're fired. How you feeling now? Right? I always say you can't really go right until you go left first. You have to experience a little bit of pain before you can experience pleasure. The best metaphor I can think of is, give me a new one, but this one always resonates with me. Anyone ever have like a brain freeze when you take like icy something and it hurts like right here? You're like, it hurts so bad for like 30 seconds. And then it goes away, it dissipates. And you're like, oh, God, feels so good. Pain, pleasure. Right? You really can't appreciate the pleasure you have in life until you experience the pain.
Well, would you consider like 8 months of phenomenal $100 million origination months being pleasure, and then a 20% drop last month being pain?
Yeah.
And having to change your paradigm
Absolutely
moving forward or something like that?
Absolutely. Appreciate that, bud. It's good to you.
That
That was not part of the script, but I appreciate that because it's true. If you think about culture, by the way, the base word of culture is what? Cult. You guys know you're a cult, right? Don't freak out. It's not like going to Ghana and taking Kool-Aid and drinking yourself to death. That's what I'm talking about. Okay? Culture, common language, common belief, common direction. It's what unifies you as a company. That's why you have this kind of environment where you're not coming in here like a wheelhouse turning people over every month. You guys come here and you stay. You believe in the company. You believe in what you're doing. This isn't a job. Okay, you love what you do in some way, shape, or form, whether it's the people, whether it's the money, whatever your purpose is, right? And it's true within any culture. When you have a downturn of anything, you remember this from 2008. I mean, my gosh, from 08 all the way through 010, my business struggled, every business struggled. Especially in your guys' world. My goodness. Banks, finance, interest rate, everything that was going on. But we're still here. We're still here. You know how long you've been with this company? You're still here. So when you have those downturns, all that is a life experience. You have to shift the belief. The belief shifts the behavior. Okay, when you have a new belief, and you think about what you're grateful for, and you think about what you're excited about, you have a different sense of passion for what you do, and you go deeper with people, it changes the whole landscape of what you do day in, day out. And you start to experience this pleasure. Now, I'm not saying everybody resides over here. In fact, most people, if you look at the studies, most people live at about a 6. This is 5, comfort zone, in the middle. Most people are level 6 people. Now, I want you to think about this on a 0 to 10 scale. This is not a trick question. Okay, if you're a 1, don't raise your hand. If you're honest with yourself, you know if you're a 1. You're just negative all the time. You see the world that way. That you're scared. You're always worried. You're freaked out, depressed, whatever. Okay, if you're a level 1 person, who do you think level 1s hang with? Who do you attract?
Misery loves company.
Correct. 1s hang out with 1s and 0s. 2s hang out with 2s and 1s and 0s. 3s, you get the map, right? Level 10s, do you think they have time for level 0 people? I mean, it's been proven. You read Forbes magazine, but billionaires hanging out with billionaires. I've been in rooms before where it's like the net worth in there is ridiculous. We have a lot of very wealthy people in the state of Arizona. I do a lot of nonprofit work. It's kind of funny when you got 3 dudes over here that are all in the B's, billions, and then another dude walks in who's only worth like 200 million. It's interesting. You just watch. The guy who's like worth 200 million, it's just like cowering down to these guys. Because they can do whatever they want, whatever the hell they want. Right? It's just different. A guy who's making $1 million versus a guy who's making $100 million, it's just different. I mean, you don't see like Tom Cruise going and dating an actress or a waiter. She wouldn't get his life. So who do they all hang around? I mean, look around. Each other. It's very rare. You see, what's the guy who, I can't remember what actor he was. He actually did marry a waitress and stayed married. Who was it?
Nicholas Cage.
Is it Matt Damon?
Matt
Yeah.
Damon.
It's very rare
Yeah.
that you see that because it's not a belief or judgment thing. It's just what it is, right? Somebody plays at a certain level, they don't get each other. It's true when they do studies on attraction. You're typically attracted to people in a blind way, to people that are about your education level, about your socioeconomic level, about your background level. It's very rare that you see a very large disparity between those things. People end up being attracted to each other. It's true. So you got to think about yourself and where you're at on that scale. So I talked about this already. This part is what keeps me in business, by the way, 40%. I can't change genetics, right? I can't even change your general life circumstance, where you live, if you're educated, if you're married, if you have kids. But this part, this is where I live. Conscious choice. Every day you wake up, you have a conscious choice. Who you want to hang around, who you want to be. I love that quote. See yourself as you want to be. See yourself as you want to be. Visualization. Some people think it's kind of weird, like talking to yourself, but you already do it anyway. Just do it out loud. You guys get stuck on that SNL skit. Stuart Smalley. Remember him?
Yep.
Al Franken?
Right.
I'm good enough. I'm smart enough. And gosh darn it, people like me. As he looks in the mirror. Do you remember that skit? You remember that skit, right? Some of the younger folks probably don't remember it. Go Google it. It's great. GTS. Google that. It's funny, but it's not funny because the guy's trying to convince himself of something. You guys ever seen Boiler Room? Remember the movie Boiler Room? Okay, remember when the sales manager who was played by who?
Vin Diesel.
Huh? Ben Affleck. What's he come in? Throws his keys across, got his Lamborghini. He says what? Act as if. Come in here and act as if. Belief system, attitude, behavior, act as if. Way back in the sales days, they used to say, fake it till you make it. I'm not a fan of the word fake, but I get it. Just act as if. If you act as if, you put on that face and you have that belief and you have that mindset, it starts to change how people treat you. And you know those people in your life. We can all do a study. We can put like a glass door up here and we can have a classroom and watch people interact with each other. Everybody would be able to point out the confident person, the not confident person, the person who thinks highly of themselves based off of the physiology in and of itself. Am I right? You know. I mean, can you imagine if somebody shook your hand and it was like this? How's that? I'm a guy trying to introduce myself to you. What's my brand right now in 30 seconds? Weak. Versus what about this one? Overpowering. Women, don't ever let a dude try to overturn you like that. Straight up. Boom. And you know what? Guys, 30% of you do it. You try to overturn a woman, disrespect. Okay, ladies, when you get that, turn it right back up. You look at him right in the eye and go, follow me? I'm serious.
Oh, we have to edit this tape, dude. Something is Dick. We already talked about this, and I really mean this, guys. When you have a deep sense of purpose about what you do in your life, and I know there's a lot of parents in the room getting associated with that. That's my purpose is my two kids. You know, my wife and I may go through struggles. My job may go through struggles, but you know, those two little guys, just like you laugh, you power through it. Because there's people watching you. What's at stake at the end of the day? And when you're really associated emotionally with what's at stake, things start to really transform. So this is the last part, guys. I'm actually kind of excited to update this slide. I've been doing this slide for 4 years because of the Olympics. I'm an Olympic fan. I work with a lot of Olympic athletes, mostly track and field. And I'm going to tell you, that's a tough job. You train for 4 years for the possibility of fill in the blank. So Susie Powell is a good friend of mine. Susie is a discus thrower. She's an American record holder. She's a 3-time Olympian. She's from my hometown of Modesto. And I was coaching her a couple Olympics ago. That's actually before Rep Sports. That would have been 08. So I went to the trials, which are up in Oregon for track and field. They're up in Eugene. Oh my gosh, it's almost nerve-wracking. Like just to make the team, you got to be in the top 2 or 3, you know, depending on what sport you're in. You're an alternative, etc. And I was asking her questions like in between, you know, the stresses of the actual trials. So Mike, think about it. Like I'm 2 years away from trials, and I don't want to wake up. I don't want to go train. I just want to sleep in. I want to go eat Dairy Queen, but I don't. For 4 years. I mean, yeah, she slips a little bit here and there, but she's disciplined. So when you watch a guy like Michael Phelps, whether you like the guy or not, I mean, I don't know how you don't like a champion. I mean, the guy is a total stud. Okay, whether he smoked pot or what, who cares? Everybody smokes pot anymore. Doesn't matter. He's a champion. He gets on that stage and he's game-based. He goes out there and he wins. He's a winner. For 4 years, he's got to live his life according to that, right? This stat right here, 0.17, this was in the last Olympics in London. This is the difference between who won the gold medal 100-meter men's last Olympics. You should know this. Usain Bolt. Right? Yep. Who took 4th? That's the guy that was 0.17 seconds behind him. Didn't make the medal stand. He's an American. Tyson Gay? Ever heard of him?
There you go. Yeah.
Didn't even make the medal stand. The difference between gold medal, Wheaties boxes, all the accolades, and getting everything you want on the planet for 4 years, and the guy who was also ran at 4th, 0.17. This is this much. That's it. 4 years. Okay, so when you're watching Michael swim the other night, he outtouched the guy by less than that. It was the closest ever in the history of the breast. Did you see that?
1.03.
Yeah, it was like the closest ever in the history of the Olympics. The little tiny things. One little thing every single day that you're willing to do. Now, I'll challenge you. I put 2.5 seconds every single day. This came from a sales guy that I coached at Lincoln or at Guardian Life Insurance. The top 25 reps make the trip. They get the big bonus. They're called Top Gun. Okay? So my friend Jeff, I'm allowed to tell the story. He usually keep the stuff confidential, but he liked the story, so I tell it. He's in Pittsburgh, and he had never made Top Gun. He had been at the company for 15 plus years, never made it. He's always in the top 25-ish%, but not the top 25. So he wrote it down. What's written is real. You guys have probably heard that before. You got to have a goal. You write it down. Specific. It's measurable. So he wrote it down that year when we were doing our coaching. And January, February, he's in the top 20, top 15, top 10. October, report comes out every month. Top 20. He's got it. I mean, it's very rare you see somebody fall out in November, December. Just don't, because of the way the cycles of the insurance world. So I'm at my brother-in-law. He's a high school student at the time. He was playing basketball in the gym, checking my phone, and I see the report come through. And I'm looking through the names. I'm like, damn, Jeff's not on there. So then I of course, I text him. I go, hey, man, is there a mistake? He's like, didn't make it. He goes, what's the one spot, Mike, that you always talk about that you don't want to be in? If it's top 25, what's the one you don't want to be in? 26. He was 26. Crushed it. It was by decimal points. The way they do the math of it, like if you cross-sell, dental, life, whatever. So it is by decimal points. It's that 0.17 that I talked about, right? So I said, hey, buddy, I'm gonna leave you alone for a week. I know you're going to be super bummed on yourself. I mean, the good news is you're still making great money. You're number 26 out of a company of 200. That's great. I'm trying to show them the positivity in it, right? So I give him a week. Call him up. I said, buddy, we're talking about meanings in life, right? Nothing in life means anything except for the meaning you give it. You have conscious choice in the meaning you give things. And he goes, okay. I've been thinking about this. He goes, it really comes down to 15 minutes. The difference between being Top Gun and being number 26 is 15 minutes. Period. If I would have put in 15 more minutes last year, I would have made it. I said, do tell. I got to hear this. He's like, I remember on a Friday, I had a standing golf appointment, or tee time. So I was hustling out of this appointment. I didn't ask a few more questions, like you talk about going deeper, right, Mike? I didn't go deep. I stayed shallow. I didn't cross-sell this. I could have asked him about the dental. The dental, in and of itself, as a line of coverage, would have thrown me over the top. Missed that opportunity. That was 3 minutes of a conscious choice. Okay. I remember another time, it was on a Monday. I'll be honest, it was a guy's trip. Had a long weekend, not feeling real good, and I canceled a bunch of appointments from 8 till 1 o'clock. One of my competitors came in at 10 o'clock, got a product more expensive than mine, beat my business. That line of coverage would have got me tough. So he's going through this whole list. Right? Hindsight's 20/20. You look back and you can psychoanalyze yourself all day long. So, of course, I'm on the calculator. I'm like, 15 minutes. 15 minutes divided by 365, and you divide it up accordingly. It's 2.46666. 2.5 seconds a day. That's it. So I said, Jeff, if you don't mind, this is a learning lesson. I'm not trying to make fun of you, but I'm learning from you. So I'm going to put on my dry erase board in my office, 2.46 in red, and circle it. So before I leave the office 5 days a week, I'm going to ask that simple question. What else could I do before I walk out of here? Who else could I call? Who could I reach out to? What prospects are on my list? You all have a list right now. I mean, as you're sitting in this room, I know it's stressful. You're like, oh, I got to get back in there and make some dials. I get it. But there's other people that you lose track of for whatever reason. Go back to your emails. Go back to your database. I was with a financial advisor, and he was telling me about it. Man, you don't understand. I've exhausted all of the stuff. I've reached out to everybody. So we played a little game. It was a happy hour. So I took his phone, and I said, how many contacts do you have in here? It's like, I don't know, 500? I said, bear with me here. I said, can you pull it up? Pull his passcode up, and I started thumbing through his contacts. I played this game like roulette. I hit stop. Tom Myers. So who's Tom Myers? Oh, he's a guy I went to college with, he's CEO of a company. When's the last time you talked to Tom? I don't know, like a year. I mean, I see him on Facebook, he's on LinkedIn. No, when's the last time you talked to Tom Myers? Like you called him on the phone and say, hey, buddy, I'm in the business of what, I do. You're in the business of what you do. Let's just chat. It's called a pivot. You got to pivot out of a relationship, right, to another direction. The person at the country club, the person at the gym, the person in your contacts. If I went around this room, we don't have time to do this. If I went around every single one of your cell phones and said, how many contacts do you have? How many contacts do you have? You know how many hundreds of thousands of contacts are in this room? And they're in your phone right in front of your face every day, but you don't look at them. You don't stop and think, that's a person I should probably follow up with. That's a person I could network with. And it's not just that person. Who does that person know? Right? That's the beauty of it. Tom Myers, he's a buddy from college or whatever, but how many people does Tom know? Tom's got 2,500 contacts on LinkedIn that I pulled up right on his cell phone. So I was going through his cell phone, or LinkedIn, on his phone. I go, there's 2,500 people. You're a financial advisor, for crimity's sake. These are 2,500 leads that you've not even tapped. That's one guy. You want me to keep going? He's like, man, I get it. You're right. I got comfortable. I'm a level 5. No pain, no pleasure. Just right down the middle. Comfort. Right? Get yourself out of your comfort zone. You got to do these little tiny things. Go through that phone, reach out to people, go through your database. I do it once a month. I go through my contacts on my, I use Outlook. So I'll go through like the deleted files, I'll go through my files, just to catch back up. Because you go through stuff, you go on vacation. My grandfather passed away a couple weeks ago. Let me tell you, that whole 10 days is blurry. So, but going back to Outlook and be able to pull out, oh gosh, I got to get back with so-and-so. So just having a strategy to do those little tiny things. So if you did something every single day and you did those little things consistently, but you wrote stuff down and it's specific. And that's one of the challenges I think we face. That we know intuitively what we want. I call them shoulds. Everybody knows what they should do. I hear this all the time. I know, Mike. The key to losing weight, so simple. You burn more than you take in. But guess what? Americans, you look at the top 25 best-selling books for the last 10 years, there's always a book in the top 25 that tells you how to lose weight. Let me tell you the secret. It's real simple. You burn more than you take in. Am I right? I understand medical challenges and whatnot, but it's a simple equation. We all know it. We all know that you shouldn't eat 2 hours before you go to bed. We all know that we shouldn't drink a lot. We shouldn't smoke. But we do, right? Turning the shoulds in our life into musts. A must is a whole different paradigm. When you must, it's like oxygen, like you have to do it. So taking some of the shoulds in your life, that's my hope, at least today. I know this is just the beginning of our relationship, but we're going to meet, obviously, in a couple months. Hopefully this stuff is resonating a little bit. We'll go a little deeper when we get to, we have more time to do what we're doing in a couple months. But this is kind of the foundation, guys. This is my contact information. I don't sell you guys anything. I don't pitch anything. It's not my deal. If you want to contact me, if whatever I said resonated with you some way, you want to talk about it, I have documents. I can send you the happy study. I've got the white papers on all the stuff that I've talked about. I didn't make any of this stuff up. That's the beauty of my industry. It's already been there for years and years and years. Napoleon Hill wrote the book Think and Grow Rich in 1925 or 1929. Or no, it was 1930, right after the crash. He's been talking about this stuff for years. Think and grow rich, right? Act as if. Have a group of people around you to surround yourself with positive people. He calls them mastermind groups, correct. So these are the things that have been around for a long time. But you got to take advantage of these things. It's not a should, it's a must. All right, questions? So if you don't mind, real quick, do quick takeaways. I'm right on 1 o'clock.
Right, perfect.
All right, takeaways. One thing you took away from today.
Reconnecting with your contacts.
Okay.
Turning a should into a must.
Okay.
More in touch with certain people and also like deal with certain situations.
Yeah. Love it.
Communication.
Love it. Love it.
I like your 2.46.
2.46. Love it.
Pain before pleasure.
For me was what's real is real.
What's real is real.
Communication, deeper you go, the better.
Curious.
Curious?
Be willing to go there with people.
You won't go there.
Communication.
Act as if.
Act as if.
Pain.
What's your story?
Story. By the way, that's the book that I wrote. This is the book. It's actually for dads. It's 114 questions. Each page is a question in and of itself for dads to write to their kids or to extract from your own father, if your parents are still around. So you don't have that luxury. So I wrote this book. I was inspired by this in 2008 when I read another book by my co-author, Vincent Staniforth. He had a book called Questions for Your Father. And it was basically, he lost his father when he was a young man. And there was a bunch of stuff he never knew about his dad. So I remember when Monica was pregnant with our oldest now, and I said, what if I travel a lot. So if I'm on a plane and this plane goes down, there's going to be a lot of stuff my son doesn't know. So I used his questions as a prompt in a journal. I have a full journal that's in our safety deposit box of all 150 questions that he came up with back in the old book. This is the updated book. So I reached out to him last year, but to all your points, what's written is real. I wrote a goal down. I reached out to the guy, didn't know him from anybody. He was in the UK. Pitched him on the idea, and boom, we came up with fucking June. But look at the name of the book. What's your story? Everyone's got one, right? You gotta ask that question. Next.
Shoulds into have to.
What's that?
Shoulds into have to.
Love it.
Act as if.
Act as if.
See yourself as you want to be. No
Love it.
personal life.
Love it.
What's your story? What's your story? Purpose.
What could I do to make more?
Love it.
I said purpose is your fuel.
I love it.
More life at the bottom of the ocean.
I love it.
Yeah, Murray.
What'd you say?
The ocean at the bottom.
Oh, okay.
What more can I do before I leave today?
Same.
I like your 1 degree.
What's that?
The 1 degree.
1 degree, yeah. It's huge. So huge.
Belief drives behavior.
Be vulnerable.
Purpose and why.
Okay.
Communication. Happiness is a choice.
That's right.
Be authentic.
You pick up on it. What's your story?
Should I send him the Players Playbook? I'll send him that book. That's my other book.
Send it to Corey.
It's a book I wrote a long time ago. It's not in script anymore.
The conscious choices.
What's that?
The conscious choices.
Okay.
Myself. Communication.
Get out of your comfort zone.
The shoulds to must.
Like 1,000 thoughts a second or minute.
Yeah.
Judgment gets you nowhere.
Nowhere.
Happiness.
Pivot your relationships.
Yeah.
I'm really glad you came.
Thanks, bud. Yeah, I'm blessed. I mean, when I do events like this, guys, I mean, obviously Mike's one of my best friends, but aside that, I don't take this stuff lightly. I'm coming into your home, the way I look at it. Like, you're welcoming into your home, your culture, and the things that you guys do. This is what you do every day for a living. So for me to be able to come in here for 90 minutes and just share and be real with you about my stuff and things that helped me, trust me, I wasn't blessed this way. I had to learn all this stuff, and I had to go through all the trials and tribulations and have kids and do all the stuff that is life. You know, starting a company and moving away and, you know, leaving the law and leaving my friends, all the stories that you've heard. But that's what made me who I am. So I feel like the more to that point, you know, compassionate, authentic, loving, and caring and curious, and you put those points together, that operating point is such a powerful place when you're just real with people. And I think that's the problem that we have, is that we want to look good. Right? We want to be right. Or we just want to survive. Am I right? You just want to look good. You want to be right, and you want to survive. But when you put all that aside and you say, I'm just going to put my mouth on my heart. I mean, that's like I guess the cheapest training I ever give some of my public speakers when they go do a big presentation. They're like, come on, man, give me some advice. I said, you know what I'm going to tell you? Put your mouth on your heart and just talk. Be real with people. Just tell them what you're going. You don't need to drain all your issues out on people. I'm not saying show up and throw up on all your prospects. That's not what I'm saying. But just ask those questions. Be willing to go there with people. And the more that you're willing to go there with people, the more you feel them. The more you have that emotion, that connection. And if you really think about it, at the end of the day, emotion and information is what connects people. I had a weird situation. It was a couple years ago. I was telling the story to a couple clients. He was talking about information and emotion. He goes, you're right, man. That's what binds people. That's big. Like, that's deep. I'm like, wow, this is really resonating with you. What's going through your head? And he was like, think about this. And he's a really serious guy. Like, he's not being funny. He goes, imagine you're out with your friends, okay? And you're partying. You're having fun. And you get arrested. And you're in a strip club. And you're in jail. Who are you going to call? I'm like, are you being rhetorical? Or where's this going? Like, this is kind of weird. Like, I'm trying to connect with the guy, but I don't know where he's going with the story. I said, well, I'd probably call him one of my buddies. He goes, you're not going to call your wife. You're not going to call your dad. You're not going to call Rhett because you want him to be proud of you. You don't want to disconnect. I'm like, okay, wow. Okay. Interesting how you connect those dots. But then I walk away from this little interaction. I'm like thinking, in his weird brain, I think he kind of got it. Information and emotion, right? Now, that's his life. I don't do that stuff. I'm not into all that stuff. I've never been arrested in my life, knock on wood. But I'll tell you what, I understand where he's coming from because information and emotion is what connects people. It's trust, right? So I said, if you don't mind, I'm going to take your weird effed up story and turn it into a sales story because it's true. In sales, the more information you have and the more emotion you're willing to share with people, the more connected you are with them, which is, to your point, relationships. Because the relationships are going to cycle day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out. So the more information you have a journal, you take notes. I mean, imagine if you had birth dates, anniversary dates. I mean, some people are really big on that. I'm huge on dates. I love dates. You tell me your birthday or anniversary, it sounds kind of weird, but death dates. If you just lost, I just had one of my buddies ask me the other day, I knew what he was doing.
because he knows I'm a date guy. He goes, what was the day that your grandfather passed away? I guarantee you it's in his Google Calendar as a recurring event. Guaranteed. He'll call me in a year and say, hey, buddy, thinking about you. Information, emotion, connection. Sound good? Cool. Well, I appreciate you guys' time. Hopefully it's the beginning of something we can do more often. And Lau, I appreciate you having me come in and let me pour my heart out and share. So, thank you.
Good round of applause for Mike Lindstrom. We had a lot of takeaways, and I know a lot of you shared them. It's interesting to hear how different people heard different things or, focused on different things. As Michael mentioned, we'll have the PowerPoint go around, but also our friends that are filming, we're going to put this on the intranet. Everybody within the company can share and learn from what he is. He's very graciously allowed us to film this, so I appreciate that very much.